Hello Internet, Seth Skorkowski, and today we'll be discussing the Call of Cthulhu adventure Ladybug Ladybug Fly Away Home. Written by Jeff Muller, the scenario appears in 2016's The Things We Leave Behind, published by Stygian Fox. Including maps and handouts, the scenario is 25 pages. It's playable in a single long session, but GMs might want to be ready for two.
Why do I have no memory of you running this adventure? Did I miss a memo?
Oh, well, because I didn't actually run this adventure. The fine folks at the Into the Darkness podcast asked me to play with them, which was awesome. I have links down below at the bottom of the video.
Holy crap, you mean you actually got to play as an actual player character?
I know, right? It was my first time to actually play Call of Cthulhu.
So, how'd you do? You survive it?
Well, the success of a game shouldn't really be whether you lived or died. I mean, it's all about the experience and bonding with your other players.
You died, didn't you?
Yeah, I died.
Ha! I knew it! Welcome to the party. Now, if you didn't run this game, I guess that means you don't need me to do the player side of it? I mean, that's cool, I guess. I mean, I'll just hang out over here.
Nah, Jack, you can join in. It's not a 1920s adventure. All of the scenarios and the things we leave behind take place in the modern era. They're darkly themed for mature players, more like True Detective than your standard Call of Cthulhu scenario. So if you could play a modern-day police officer, that'd be perfect.
Do you mean something like this?
Yeah, that's fine, I guess, but do you think you could do more detective than beat cop?
Okay, hold on. Okay, how's this?
Perfect.
Yeah, damn right it is. Perfect like this donut.
The scenario involves a missing 5-year-old girl, Regina Balfour, who is kidnapped from a large retail store. The kidnapper also tried unsuccessfully to steal Regina's Ladybug backpack. The backpack contains Regina's medicine because she has a serious health condition that unless she receives a regular dosage of her medicine, it will kill her. The PCs find themselves in a race against time to find this little girl before she can succumb to her illness. Characters can be police, FBI, private consultants, maybe even private investigators that are hired by the little girl's family, or there could just be media that's trying to get a good story. There's several ways that a game master can set this up, which is really, really cool. What follows is an exciting twists and turns, culminating in one hell of a climax. But before I can offer my suggestions and criticisms, I have to warn you that there will be spoilers. So for any players in the audience, if you want to experience the dark and fun mystery adventure, you should send your game master this way. But stop here because you'll ruin it for yourself if you keep going. Okay, game masters, let's cut this open.
I think what you mean to say is, let's take this down to the lab for analysis.
The adventure begins on Thursday night after the abduction. The PCs are given a handout of what information is already known. The whole operation will be headed up by Special Agent Lucy Bates of the FBI. Now, no matter what role your characters play, whether law enforcement or private eyes or media, prior to the game, the GM will need to know if they're firstborn children. Now, don't ask, "Are you the oldest child?" directly. That's going to tip them off. Instead, ask them about their parents' names, their relationship, their ages and relations with their siblings, and all about the characters' families. Now, a lot of this might be good information that you could use for other things, but the big reason is you just want to find out who in the party is a firstborn child. Interviews and investigations will quickly lead to several interesting facts. For one, Regina's father, John Balfour, presides over a small doomsday church called the Church of the Passover Angel. Balfour and his church have been investigated by several times by agencies such as the ATF, but nothing has ever come from those investigations. The church has predicted that the end of the world is going to occur this next Tuesday, 5 full days away from the start of the game. One of the kidnappers, the one who actually stole Regina, then loaded her into a car that sped away, killed himself at the scene. The PCs will learn that his identity was a retired ATF agent George Lewison, a specialist in domestic terror groups. The church is a website that has a countdown to their predicted doomsday. It discusses the 10 plagues of Egypt that will precede the end of the world. Now, you can describe this website to your players, but one amazing player out there, James Alday, has actually built a website for your players to explore. Complete with cheesy raining frog animations, the doomsday countdown, sermons, and a place to purchase the book of the Passover Angel, I have encountered a lot of fan-made resources for different Call of Cthulhu adventures, but this one is the coolest. I've placed a link for it down below in the video description. Now, speaking of resources, the module comes with several maps. One for the Cleveland area, for the Game Masters with location markers, and then another one for the players. We also get the Balfour's home and church compound, also with a player and Game Master version of each, which is very, very cool. Now, keepers who have the scenario book might notice that the maps that I'm using are color, while the book and the PDF only use black and white images. For color handouts, keepers will need to download the Mark of Evil, a free companion pack at the Drive-Thru RPG, which is brimming with great stuff to use, links below. For the Church's book, the Book of the Passover Angel, PCs can find several copies during the game. There's a handout the players can use when they decide to read through it. Either through great dice rolls or players' questions, PCs can discover a hidden cipher that's within the text. This will reveal another hidden message. Now, don't worry if your players don't discover it. It's not necessary, but it's kind of cool if they figure it out. There are several themes that the Game Masters will need to use during the course of this adventure. However, the module isn't the best at explaining them. The first one is cameras. We live in an age of cameras where they are everywhere. Mr. Balfour will at one point compare these to the eternal eyes of God from the book of Exodus, and I like the theme that they're doing with it.
However, when we tried to use the cameras in the parking lot to get the license plate number on the getaway car, we couldn't. And then, we couldn't use the traffic cameras in the area to follow that car's path or get the license plate number on it. That's not a strong opening to the module that's trying to say, ooh, cameras are important if you don't let them use the cameras. So here's my suggestion. Go ahead and let them see what the license plate number is. Let them have it. And then, you also let them go ahead and follow that car for a few blocks as it makes its escape. Every time they can see that license plate number. But then the car suddenly vanishes and they can't find it on cameras anywhere. Then when they try to run those plate numbers, they discover that those license plates should have been on George Lewison's car and they had evidently swapped them out. And the reason that they lost the car is because the bad guys pulled off the side of the road somewhere that they knew there weren't any cameras watching, and they swapped the plates out and they quietly made their escape. Maybe you could have the PCs kind of triangulate where that probably was, and you can have some uniformed cops go to that spot, maybe find the discarded license plate numbers, and then they're like, uh-oh, we got somebody that knows what they're doing. That shows that the players can use cameras to their advantage and not to forget about them, but it also tells them that the bad guys know about cameras and they're going to use them to the player's disadvantage too.
Another theme is the 10 Plagues of Egypt, which the PCs will begin encountering as the game progresses. However, many of the opening plagues that the PCs experience are pretty crappy. The water and the blood is just a broken fish tank at the crime scene where the guy shot himself, and the frogs are the animated website frogs that's the one on the website that tells you that you're going to see frogs. The lice are on a report that Regina had lice not that long ago, and the boils, well, those appear on a cat. There's nothing wrong with introducing the plagues slowly and building them up where each plague becomes more and more prominent than the one before it. But if I as the GM don't notice them when I'm reading the module, then how can a player be expected to notice these plagues at all?
So here's a couple ideas at different levels that you can do, just depending on how you want your game to go. Blood. Now, you have all the PC's coffee suddenly taste like blood. Like everyone in the station at the same time does this massive spit take because they take a big old swig of whatever it was they were drinking and they taste blood. Make them do a sand check, -1 if you fail. But then all of a sudden, nothing. No blood. But we all tasted it. Weird, right? And go ahead and do that while Mr. Balfour is in the station with them. Or you can bring that up to level 2. Have the PC see blood. Like all the water coolers around the station, suddenly they're red and they're full of blood. Or they're going through a gas station somewhere and all the racks of bottled water suddenly turn red too. And then all of a sudden YouTube videos start popping up of other people that have seen this because it was only there for like a quick moment, like 45 seconds. Then all of a sudden it was right back to normal water. Or go ahead and do level 3, Lake Erie. Go ahead and turn a great lake into a giant sea of blood. Or maybe just the area around the Cleveland zone. And it's going to be like, holy crap, what's going on? We can't write this one off as maybe we're going a little nuts. But this one is going to get the whole world's attention. So if you want to go up to level 3, just remember, the whole world's going to be watching from now on. Now, any of those are fine to use depending on how you want your game to go. But all of those are much better than a broken fish tank next to a dude that shot himself in the head, and it's like, ooh, there's blood in the water. Now, frogs, animated frogs don't count, especially if they're animated frogs on the website that says, oh, you're going to see frogs before the apocalypse. Go ahead and bring frogs in. Have the PCs see them around. They're just hopping out of the bushes periodically. Mention it here and there. Or maybe they open up a closet while they're searching someone's house, and boom, a frog pops out. It's like, oh, that was weird. Or go ahead and just, if you want to make it full-on apocalyptic, have freaking frogs just start coming up out of the sewers and filling the streets. And all of a sudden, we've got frogs everywhere. Lice? Okay, yeah, that's easy. Give your players lice. Make your players be scratching their heads going, oh my god, this sucks. They're in my mustache. But don't give the Balfours lice. Make sure that you point out that, you know what? Everybody in Cleveland's got frogs and lice and there's blood in the water. But the Balfours, they seem to be fine. Flies? Okay, I like how they brought in the flies. That was pretty cool. But keep it coming. Have big, black, nasty flies all over the place. Just different scenes. They're buzzing around. And if you decided to do that frog apocalypse like I was talking about earlier, trust me, after a few thousand frogs get run over in the streets, you're going to have no problem saying there are flies everywhere.
Now remember, the PCs don't have to come from a religious background in order to know what this means. First, the Book of the Passover Angel tells you all about the plagues and what to expect. But if anyone has seen the Ten Commandments or the Mummy, they should have a good idea of what's coming next.
Charlton Heston's Mummy is taking its wrath out on Cleveland? Damn, that would be a twist.
The third theme is Mr. Balfour himself. He's going to be following the PCs around, and he is clearly upset and clearly worried about the welfare of his little girl. But he should be in the way to the point that the PCs keep bumping into him and they start looking over their shoulders, expecting to see him at the next instance. He needs to be an active character in the adventure. Now, if your group splits up, going different directions, following different leads, one group can notice that Mr. Balfour is following them. Then the other group notices that someone else is following them, and they don't know who that is. But then they see a sticker for the Church of the Passover Angel in the back of that car's window, because Mr. Balfour has a huge congregation, and his entire congregation is deeply concerned with getting Regina back for Tuesday night. You see, what the PCs don't realize is that Balfour intends to sacrifice his daughter to the Church of the Passover Angel. He first encountered the church in Kenya, and the angel promised him the end of the world. Now, he deeply loves his daughter, and he believes that she's going to be resurrected because his faith and his love is so strong, and that he's more like Abraham, who's just being tested by God. But this man and his congregation are totally insane, and they have a lot riding on this next Tuesday night. Now, the angel and the congregation that he's spoken to are nothing more than Nyarlathotep, and he's got plans of his own. And convincing the Balfours to sacrifice their sweet 5-year-old daughter is a big instrumental part of those plans.
See, the kidnappers are secretly the good guys, and they are willing to lay down their lives in order to keep Regina safe. But they're also willing to kill her, just so Nyarlathotep cannot have his blood sacrifice. And the PCs, if they do their jobs right, are going to lead the bad guys straight to her. Talk about a nice, interesting dilemma for your PCs to find themselves in when it's like, uh-oh, we helped the bad guys.
Eventually, the PCs will discover that the kidnapper was Lindsay Peel, and that she's fled with Regina over the state line into Pennsylvania. That's why it's better if your PCs are federal or private agents rather than state police, because there's going to be a jurisdiction issue. On their way there, they're going to be hit by a huge storm. Unlike the other hints of the Egyptian plagues, there is no denying that this sudden and devastating hailstorm is really, really weird. More so because the PCs that are unfortunate enough to look out the window might behold a furious angel in the heavens and require sanity rolls just to see it. The PCs will eventually discover that Lindsay is holed up with Regina in a motel room. We get a player map and a keeper map of this location. Now, Lindsay isn't coming out, and the PCs are going to find themselves in a hostage situation complete with SWAT snipers and the whole business. Now, Lindsay has been plagued this entire time with nightmares and visions, and she's inscribed symbols around the door that the PCs might notice. This situation can easily escalate into a murder-suicide if the PCs aren't careful. Now, sometime during this, Nyarlathotep is going to summon a plague of locusts, full-blown biblical-style plague with locusts covering cars and assaulting the windows and the door to the hotel room. Now, two things are going to get Lindsay to stop what she's doing and pay close attention. The first one is defacing the door. The second one is cutting the power. Now, my suggestion here, instead of the PCs cutting the power, have the locusts, which are swarming inch deep across all the transformers in the area. They're going to cause one of those things to blow. There's going to get a huge boom and a purple flash and then darkness. Now, at this point, if the symbols on the door have been scratched out or defaced by the PCs, a hunting horror swoops down, rips through the roof, and snatches Lindsay, hopefully before she can kill little Regina. Maybe the PCs will see this, maybe not. Maybe the cops around the place are going to see this, different police, or maybe the police snipers that are watching this through their rifle scopes.
I'd say she disagreed with something that ate her.
Now, once Regina is returned to her family, the case is going to technically be over. And this is where we, as the players of this scenario, really screwed it up. Because out of character, we all knew that this was going to be bad. We stepped back from it and allowed the rest of it to play out because we were afraid that we were going to metagame because out of character we knew, and we didn't feel that our characters had really enough just to make them keep looking into it. So what I recommend for game masters in order to keep the game moving forward is to bring the DVD in Lindsay's room into the game itself. George Lewison had joined the church under the cover and recorded some of the sermons with a hidden camera. One day he recorded the Passover angel actually appear before the congregation and give its orders to the worshipers before directly addressing the hidden camera and saying that there was nothing that they could do to stop it. That recording is what convinced him and Lindsay to steal Regina and protect her and to protect the world. So what I suggest is that they find the DVD, or still, Special Agent Bates sees it. She calls the PCs into her office, and she's all like, look, I can't help you with any official capacity. No laws have technically been broken here, but we need to stop this. Remember, Bates saw the locust herself and the swarm and possibly the aftermath of the hunting horror. Now, she's a woman of logic, but there's also a lot of illogical things that are going on, and she might be willing to take this on an act of faith and tell the PCs to keep going with it, even though that in character the PCs are going to be all like, well, case closed. By Tuesday night, the Balfour's lawyer will have gotten Regina back if they're trying to keep Regina from being released to the family, and that's when the ceremony is going to happen. Now, you can have this be a quiet affair with maybe some news crews and a little bit of police presence outside the compound. However, remember that in the age of the internet and with all the press coverage of Regina's abduction has sent a lot of people to church's website. And maybe there's a lot of last-minute converts before Tuesday night. Now, if you ramped up the plagues, letting other people see water turn into blood, or even turn the Great Lake of Erie into blood itself, and then frogs and flies and boils and all that, there might be hundreds, if not thousands of people outside the gate causing all sorts of pandemonium because they now want to join the church too. And a wall of cops and riot gear are going to be trying to keep them out. This makes an exciting backdrop for the big finale because either way, the cult is going to be prepared for this. Aside from a few members who are armed to the teeth, several car bombs have been strategically placed along the street. So packing crowds of people outside the gates, just as the doomsday clock ticks down, will just add to the horror and confusion when bombs start detonating and hundreds of people become injured or get killed. Now inside the chapel, Mr. Balfour is going to summon the Passover angel and sacrifice Regina or someone else unless he can be stopped. And Nyarlathotep will unleash what's called the Black Wind, causing massive devastation, natural disaster, and killing thousands of firstborn children in the region.
And that right there is how most of us died. It is amazing how many player characters are either firstborn children or only children. I mean, who would have guessed that being a Jan Brady middle child was the safest bet? So I can promise you that any player character that I do from now on is going to be a middle child.
All in all, despite my own character dying in this scenario, alone and afraid, I had a lot of fun with this adventure. It's a very fun game, and I love the police procedural aspect of it, and it had one hell of a great finale. I recommend you give it a look.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you want to see some more of our reviews and other videos, just hit that subscribe button. Until next time, players, you have a great day. I am really digging this stash here. You should think about growing yours out.